This is SIBN Radio. Follow us on Twitter, Facebook, and YouTube at Select USA TV. This is SIBN Radio.
I want to ask you a question. Who's coaching you? Who's asking you the tough questions? Who's telling you, man, you're the common denominator to all of your issues and challenges? Who's telling you, man, all day long you become the magnetic pulse that attracts to you both good and bad? I want to be your life coach. I want to be the one that cheers you on to the finish line. I want to be the one that you ask the tough questions. And it doesn't mean that I have all the answers, but that means that you have a partner, someone who believes in you, not the you see right now, but the you can't imagine, the you that you are to become, the you are destined to be. I always say we both need the positive and the negative. It's not enough to have the knowledge of the matter, but we must have the wisdom as well. For wisdom settles it. And that's what I want to offer you as you join me on the Coach's Corner. I want to offer you the wisdom of the matter. Maybe it might be relationships, talking about our campaigns for more, for life, the dark room of our subconscious, our spiritual journey. Whatever it is, I want to be there to encourage you, to build you, to challenge you, to cheer you on to the finish line. I'm qualified to do this. Why? Because I'm you.
I'm sure enough you, man. What's going on? Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, whenever you may be joining this broadcast. Thank you so very much for your listenership. I surely appreciate you. By the way, I need you to tell a friend. Our goal is 200 people per day on the podcasting platform alone. So we need you to spread the word. Can you do that for me? I knew that you would. And also, we want to thank you for listening on the radio block radio programming at www.sibn-by-selectusatv.com. Thank you so much also for tuning in to www.sibntelevision.com. And for those of you that are joining me on syndicated broadcasts, syndicated platforms, thank you so much. iTunes, those on Blog Talk Radio. We've been a little bit lazy on getting over there, short a few things, but thank you anyway for those that have joined there. Numbers are looking good. Thank you for Spreaker viewers, Voicecast, iBroadcast TV, Ustream, and also thank you for YouTube, SoundCloud. All of you that have been joining us on the multi-platforms that we air, we thank you and appreciate you so very much. And I would be remiss if I forgot my Twitter followers. Once again, thanks and welcome aboard. We're ready to get going. We're talking about the secrets of, thank you, Mr. Engineer. We're talking about the secrets to love and finding love, and we've been talking about being honest, being integral. Honest is a secondary word, really, if I was to use it, but primary word is integrity, and it's very difficult to be honest. I will admit, many times you won't see things because of your maturity level and where you are. But when you open yourself up to listening, like many of you have, I must compliment you. That I really want to say thank you again for listening, because you could be doing something else. The way our lives are going now, the digital world keeps us really, really occupied with a lot of different things, and so I appreciate you using this as part of your toolbox, reference source, if you will, to improve yourself. But we're talking about the secrets to love and finding love. You cannot find what you do not possess. In order for you to discover the complement of another, you yourself must possess the gift that you seek. In order to receive the compliment of another that will soothe you and encourage you and build you, you yourself must possess the gift you seek. So as we continue to talk about personal integrity, let's talk about the ability to possess love. We all have the ability to possess it, but based, as I've said so many times more than not, based on our exposure and our environment, that perspective on love may be tainted. It may not be normalized according to what we believe, may not be normalized according to what, your friends believe or what have you. But the bottom line is, we don't want you to necessarily have a normal love. We want you to have an effective love. There's a difference. Normalized loving could bring about a lot of subjectivism and a lot of judgmentalism in some cases. And don't get me wrong. Hear me out before you start thinking that certain things may be okay. But what we really want to do is have a love that's impactful and references ourselves to the divine connection from whence love comes. Let me say that again. You want to discover and exude and bring to fruition in your own life, as well as discover it in the lives of a significant loved one or loved ones in general, by being available to be the instrument therein for love to flow, no matter how small. And the more love flows from you, that references the divine connection from whence love comes. See, that's where we have a problem. So we wanted to talk about on today the types of love that we're dealing with, so that you don't get confused. And I'm not saying that you have been, but some of you may admit, that I've been a little confused about the impact that love makes, as to be able to reference which love I'm dealing with. And so I wanted to cover this on last session, but real quickly, let's go into the definitions, and I'll go into them more, but I just want to mention them at least today. We have eros. Okay. That's affection. We have philia. And of course, I missed one. Let me go back, because I'm real tired, as you probably can tell. We have eros, which is affection. We have philia, which is friendship. We have agape, which is unconditional love or charity. And we have storge. Okay. And so we have 4 different levels. And I want to say they're really kind of like stair steppers. They're stair steppers. One gradual over another. We start with the physical. Well, God always starts with the spiritual. I was watching a show. I won't mention the name of the show, but I was watching a show, and the young lady was dating this young man, and I was struck by a sentence that she used that I hadn't heard in a good while, and it said that, I can't kiss you because of my values, my family values. Of course, I saw a little clip of the show that's going to come up that referenced her saying, "Sorry, Mom," if you're watching this, but I just thought it was unique that someone started from the top down instead of from the bottom up. We just don't do that. See, when you've been broken, and I want to say this to encourage you, when you've been broken, tattered, teared, embarrassed, abandoned, rejected, scarred, when you have experienced a lot of calamity, whether mentally, psychosocially, family dynamics, community dynamics. I grew up in a very seriously divided community dynamic in Cleveland, Ohio, where the race riots were prevalent. white flight from the urban communities, and the whole gamut. And we still had a lot of whites that lived in the neighborhood, but there was a lot of race riots and a lot of tension. But however you grew up, this is the reference point often. And I have found, I could be wrong, and those of you that are sociology professors out there can set me straight, but it seems like the people who have had tragedy and catastrophe and things of that nature, they gravitate to wanting love more than others. They want someone special and all that. And it's almost like the DNA of the love connection. The fact that I don't want you to damn yourself to hell for bad decisions regarding love is very seriously. I want you to stop doing that. I want you to start looking at yourself as more than an experiment here. Maybe we ought to put a little bit more scientific flavor to this journey that you're in. Because you are not experimenting anymore. You know that everyone is looking for love because everyone really is love. Perhaps they're starting on the wrong level of it from the bottom up, which leaves us to believe that you don't love me. And technically speaking, emotionally speaking, and speaking of covenant, that may be true because you started with the lightest description of love, is the physical. I don't know why people do not get that. It has taken me a lifetime to know that. The lightest expression, the smallest expression, but we think it's different as we talk about the types of love. Before I talk about that, I'll talk about that more on next session. I want to just encourage you to stop judging yourself. Stop judging yourself because you are love. You are loved and you are love. You are loved and you are love. Why? Because the DNA, hailing from the divine connection from whence love comes, is stamped in you, genetically, spiritually, soulishly, the whole gamut. Now, your love choices have not been good, perhaps. Your love angles have not been well, perhaps. Your love's perception, the perception of the love that you possess, have perhaps been misused or mishandled or misgiven. But you yourself must stop judging and condemning yourself for the various acts. Now, one of the things that I notice in culture, and I want to say that you shouldn't have to be progressive to be a United States citizen. What is in demand right now is that you be progressive in the sense that you accept everything culture demands. You accept it all. And I think that that's unfair, but at the same time, we should not be dogmatic on the opposite side of the table because perhaps we believe in X, Y, and Z principle. We've got to find a balance here. We can't keep having these messages politically, economically, socially, that everything goes in whatever I feel, and whatever I believe. I don't believe there should be a prayer in school, so I'm going to sue. And now prayer is gone out of the school. And I don't believe that McDonald's coffee should be hot, so I'm going to sue. Now McDonald's has to put something in writing on every cup. I don't believe that women shouldn't be able to fight on the front line, so we're going to sue. And litigation did go forward, whether you believe it or not. We live in a very litigated-driven society where, whatever I feel that I want, I'm going to get it. Just because you can get it doesn't mean it's going to be good for you. It just doesn't mean it's going to... we want to be equal to everything and everyone. There's no way. Hence, the more we try to do that, the greater the divide within our culture we receive. And as it relates to love, if we just step out right now of our own driven desires and treat other people like we would want to be treated, even though some people want to be treated bad. So that's not always the best example. You know, I told you about the little story, and I know I'm ranting off here. I'm just going in, right? I told you about the lady that said, just tell me lies tonight. Tell me truth tomorrow. You know, I don't want to hear reality. And we have a problem with that, where we want to escape. We don't want to face the pain. We don't want to be lonely. We don't want to be in charge of having to manage our hormonal dispersion, if you will. You know, we don't want to face life alone. And first we got to admit we're not alone. We're not alone. That's a falsehood. You know, David in the Bible says, and this is not a Bible study, so I don't often bring a lot of scriptures because I'm talking straight from my heart. Every now and then I may write a couple of notes down, like the 4 levels of love. But, you know, I'm talking straight from my heart. But there's a little story. I kind of slipped my mind. There's a little story to come back to me. But the point of the matter is, you are not alone. Okay, the scripture that I'm thinking of is David says, when I was in my mother's womb, you were there. If I ascend to the depths of hell, you are there. If I go up to the heights of heaven, you are there. I'm paraphrasing for those scholars, Bible scholars out there. The greatest lie of all time is you are alone. So you have to have someone. And you have to be mating. Excuse me, but let's just call it what it is. You have to be, exchanging fluids here. You're alone. Your biological clock is ticking. You have needs. See, we've started from the bottom up instead of from the top down. Because we've experienced love from the bottom up instead of from the top down. Bottom up love is all physical. And then all of a sudden you want to explain to somebody and say, oh, I got a spiritual connection. Oh, I have chemistry. You want to try to impress someone else with the spiritual explanation of a bottom-up love that started with a booty call or started with a breast call, whatever kind of label you want to put in there. But let's just call it for what it is. It's bottom-up. The lowest level of expression of love is the physical. Anybody that knows anything knows that. The lowest form. The body can be quickly turned on and quickly turned off. I felt that right there. The lowest form, if you don't get nothing else out of anything else for today's show, the lowest form of expressive love is the physical. The physical, the reason why that is because the physical love, which is eros, and I dare say also storge and phileo, but eros being the actual consummation of the intention of love's giving. In other words, the physical was designed to consummate a promise of covenant or a covenant of promise. It was not designed as an experimental girl, well, how's he in bed type thing, or a man, how's she in bed? Man, she can turn over 5 ways. She swings from the lights. It was never intended for that. Some casual description of jewels given and spilled within the streets. And I could talk more about. I think I'm going to have a sex series. I had a sex series once online, and it was very popular. It was very, very good series. It was very balanced series, and I think I might bring that series. Not that particular series, but I want to bring a series on sex. Maybe call it Sex in Context. Because sex is not necessarily love, but sex was designed to be an expression of love, but from the top down, not from the bottom up. So let's just recap some of the things that you need to know. First, you need to understand that your description of love may be tainted due to the truth that you thought, the things you embraced that you thought was truth that turned out to be not true, based on the environment or exposure, what you received, what you didn't receive, who was in your corner, who wasn't in your corner, who gave to you, who didn't give to you, who abandoned you, who accepted you, who rejected you, who showed love to you from top down, or who showed love from you from bottom up, who showed love to you from the top down, but yet they had some crazy ways, and who showed love from the bottom up. You know what I'm saying? It was wham, bam, thank you, ma'am, and you didn't hear nothing else from them. I mean, your mother and your father might have met, and then you didn't see your father no more. Wham, bam, thank you, ma'am. You never saw him again. So in the perspective of moving forward, because my goal is to get you to the finish line. I know it's painful to look back, but you got to look back in the rearview mirror every now and then anyhow. To assure you're not repeating the same behavioral patterns as you move forward, and to assure that you are checking yourself before you wreck yourself, to use a term loosely used in the street. You reference love based on experience, exposure, environment. But I heard one of my partners say this, and I believe this thoroughly, that you need to upgrade. You need to upgrade. You're not back there anymore. You're not in the booth. You're not in the back. You're not amongst those that rejected you. You're not amongst those that abandoned you. And you're not around them people anymore. You're not. And I would assure you that if you do not move on mentally, if you do not move on psychosocially, if you do not move on emotionally, you will keep running into those same people in the form of other people. We can't help it, because whatever you are, whatever you believe, tends to send out the magnetic pulse out into the airwaves. I hate to go scientific on you behind, but you're sending it out subconsciously. You're sending out a magnetic signal. And while you double back and say you hard and you tough and you sending out a signal that I don't deserve nothing more than what I was exposed to. I don't deserve nothing more than what my environment taught me. I don't deserve nothing more than what my surroundings gifted me with. And now I'm telling you, you got to upgrade. Upgrade your belief system. That number one, as we recapped, you're not alone, but you can be lonely. Let's just let's get it straight. You can be lonely. You can be married and lonely. You could be in a crowd or in a room full of your friends and family and be lonely. Because I'm gonna tell you what I think loneliness, part of what loneliness comes from sometimes, is that you have great thoughts and you cannot dare share them yet. You have great experiences, and you cannot or do not feel a release to share them yet. You have great anticipation, but you cannot tell others of the forecast yet. This can make you lonely, even in a marriage. Why can't you tell? Why can't you share? Why can't you tell? Because the person may not be ready. It may not be time. It's a number of factors. But the bottom line is that you have great thoughts, great meditations, great anticipations, great expectations, great disappointments. But I cannot discuss them right now. I cannot process them right now, because I do not know whether or not the other person has the skill set to engage me where I am trying to disperse of this process so that I can move forward in my journey. So therefore now I'm in a lonely place. David said, I encourage myself in the Lord. Okay? My kids in my AV class told me, said, Coach, don't say that. So love description for you and for me depends on whether or not we understand our level of exposure, our level of environment. But then we realize that everything in our environment, everything that we were exposed to is not necessarily true or not necessarily healthy, whatever the case may be. We decide to upgrade and stop blaming them, him, and her, and say, you know what? If I don't do nothing else before I die, I will improve me. I can't control what shit. And you know what? I know some of y'all are in a fist fight over there. It's a fist full of, you know what I'm saying? A fit full of emotional chaos. But you know what? You're doing the best you can with what you know, and that's why we keep feeding you information so you'll be armed and dangerous, and you'll be able to move forward. And you know what? My father said it. The Bible says it. A soft answer always turns away wrath. See, you yourself have to be prepared for the end. For once you say that you're going to what's my time looking like? For once you say you're going to change your environment, once you're going to upgrade your definition of love in today's world, the love that I describe for myself and for my family and constituents and friends and those that want to be in my circle now has to be from the top down. It has to be from agape. It has to be from the unconditional place down. And this is the problem with homosexuality, is what I was referring to earlier. We have all, not only homosexuality, but bestiality. We don't talk about that much in society, but it's going on. Pedophilia. We don't talk about that, but it's going on. These are all our actions of so-called expressions of rage or love from the bottom up. Why are we starting at the bottom? Because we don't want to start at the top. There's a whole lot more. Hey, I want to tell you something. There's a whole lot more going on the love sex scene than they tell you in the news. Some things you would be embarrassed to hear. Let me just tell you that. And while everything that they told you about acceptance and coming out of the closet for heterosexuals and homosexuals, for the love of goodness, is to glamorize and to, we have a right to be happy. I was thinking about that, and as my closing thought, I want to leave you with this. You are not designed for the constitutionality of happiness. And I am surprised and I am offended that our lives have been mitigated or our lives have been reduced to a constitution written by men. I have a God who created me. I don't want to get into anything political. I'm just telling you that we have to be very, very, very careful here. Because if you start from the bottom up, that reference of love from the bottom up is limited. I don't care who you are. Homosexual, heterosexual, married, single, fine, ugly, tall, short, fat, skinny, whatever cultural, politically correct and incorrect words you decide to fall up under. It does not matter. The love from the bottom up has very minute expression in comparison to the satisfaction and the exuberance and the joy of a love from the top down. And you want to try to convince me that coming out of the closet for our beloved brothers and sisters who are struggling, whether genetically or psychosocially, or as some say, sinfully, we need to give them a different message. And the message need to be that all of us need to stop experimenting with life and love from the bottom up. Because that low expression of love, I see my time is gone, that lowest expression of love is not it's not exemplifying, and it's not showing forth the glory or the reflection of the love from which it came. The physical dimension of love was only meant to consummate a celebration, not to be the center of celebration. Catch me on Twitter if you can.
You're listening to the sounds of your lifestyle improvement station.